Oh, son of a gun. There's a lot of dust on these plants. I am forever, I'm not kidding, I am forever dusting these plants off. I have to take a towel and wipe off all the leaves, especially the ZZ. This is the ZZ plant. And this, Prince of Orange, gathers up dust like you would not believe. And oddly enough, this is not regular dust that's in here. It's I call it the fairy dust. It's from mushrooms. And I go like this up here because these spider plants up here, the little spider babies, they had mushrooms growing in them. Remember those yellow mushrooms that I show every now and then in my pots? Well, I get mushrooms in my pots. It's really kind of weird. I think it comes with the potting soil. Well, they grow up, these little yellow mushrooms, then they get bigger and bigger, and then the caps open up, and they're absolutely beautiful for a couple days. And then one morning I come in and poof, they have let all the spores go, because that's what mushrooms do best, is they let the spores out, and then the dust just floats, not even on a breeze. It literally just puffs out, and it goes everywhere. In the morning, I see nothing but a shadow. And remember I showed you that? Yeah, I did. I showed you that on, and now I'm doing this, over on the table to your right. It was on the table. Well, I have it over here on the shelves as well. So when I come in the mornings, I have to water the plants, prune the plants, sniff the plants. And then I have to clean the plants. So the plants that you see on this program are generally not quite so pretty. No, they're not. They are a little bit dusty every now and then. Now the dust doesn't really hurt them that much. Oh, I forgot. Crap. Okay, I'm not going to edit that out. I'm going to welcome you to the Voodoo Garden. I forgot to do that. I always do that at the beginning of the program. So right now in the middle of the program, I want to welcome you to the Voodoo Garden. My name is Ray. I am the host of this green and powdery and dirty, dusty nonsense that I lovingly call the Garden of Voo. Okay, let's get back to what we were talking about. The dust. That's everywhere. That's upkeep. Now, I'm sure you don't have this kind of problem in your house. Unfortunately, I do. Now, I could keep the mushrooms from growing by spraying, but I really don't mind the dust. It doesn't bother me. It may bother some people that are looking at my plants. It doesn't bother me at all. And I don't let the dogs eat the mushrooms, of course. People have said, hey, Ray, be careful with your dogs around those mushrooms. And I'm sitting here thinking, well, yeah, I think I will be careful with my dogs around the mushrooms. No, the dogs don't. Actually, only one dog comes in here, and that's Rascal. He has no interest in mushrooms. Fear not, Rascal will not eat a mushroom. One of the main things that I do in here is snipping. So I always have my pruners handy, and these are nothing special. These are not my normal pruners. These are my getting into the plant pruners. These are just scissors, just little scissors I have. And I have to do that quite a bit because there's, like I mentioned in the previous program, there's a lot of upkeep and there's a lot of work involved in doing your plants. And it's not really work, it's a labor of love for me. Now, one thing I wanted to bring up on today's program is deciding what stays, what goes, and also shaping your plants to get something that you really want out of your plants. And I'm going to give you examples of that, okay? All right, that's what we're going to do. First of all, let's see. I have no room for you to sit, so just kind of weave your way over here. And I'm going to show you the first example, and then we're going to work our way around the room because there's something I want to talk about that happened actually right after last program. Something happened, and you probably already know what it is, but I'll tell you about that in a minute. First of all, come on over here. We have a 4 o'clock for you. Kind of pretty, isn't she? Yeah. This is the 4 o'clock, one of the plants that I'm growing from a seed sent by a friend. Now, I've shown this before. You've seen all the tufts of flowers. Notice that they're not open. True to its name, it does open up later in the afternoon when I'm not in the Voodoo Garden. So I have to actually make a point of coming down here in the afternoon. I open up the door and whew, it smells pretty. Yes, it do. These are a beautiful plant. They put out a profuse amount of flowers of varying colors. This one is a fuchsia colored. I did have one that was yellow, but that one I just got rid of because I preferred this color. Now this one, it grows, it forks, it flowers, it forks again, it flowers again. Now what it's done is kind of stopped growing while it's flowering, and I'm assuming once it's done flowering, it's going to start growing again. One thing I did notice is that the maintenance on this plant can be a little bit much if you're into low maintenance plants, because you shake it, see that? Yes, it's raining flowers, and it does. that I don't even have to touch it. I come out here in the morning and there are little tiny the deceased flowers from the day before all over the place, on its neighbors, on the table, on the floor, everywhere. I don't know how they move around so much from the mother plant. I just take them and toss them back into the soil, and the soil digests them and turns them back into food. But I was thinking about this. How would I make this plant a little less maintenance, and how would I shape this plant if I wanted to shape a plant? Because that's what I want to talk to you about today. Shaping your plants to get them to look the way that you want them. Now let's take a look at this. I'm going to bring it up to you. You don't have to go anywhere. This starts out from a main stem right at the bottom, and I did no pruning on this. It forked naturally. That's the nature of this plant. It forks and it puts out new growth all over the place. So there really isn't anything that I need to do in order to get it to get bushier, because look, it's doing it by itself. And normally when I tell you to prune your plants, I remember I mentioned you want that bowl shape. Well, this one naturally has a bowl shape. I didn't have to work at this at all, and that's really kind of nice about this 4 o'clock. It has the foliage, which is beautiful, a dark green heart-shaped leaf, which is kind of reminiscent of a philodendron type leaf. Yes, so it's a pretty leaf. It puts out a profuse amount of flowers. It grows well indoors. So if you're an indoor gardener, you might want to consider something like this. And you do have the selection of colors. So get a color that suits you. This one suits me because I like the contrast of the red and the green. That's always a good contrast. Did you notice today I'm wearing red and green? Yeah, because I do. I like that contrast. All you have to do is give it some rich, well-drained soil, not even a lot of soil. Water it well, let it dry out, water it well, and that's all you have to do. I'm probably not going to change the pot for this, and I'm probably not going to prune this. Now, if it does get top heavy, I will prune it back. And so right now, this one is perfectly shaped. Every now and then, there might be a slightly yellowed leaf, and that's when they get used up. I just snip it off and toss the leaf into another plant's pot and let it digest it. You can do that. You can toss them into other plants' pots, tear them up, or you can just toss them in a compost pile or just toss them out the house. Now, I don't put it in this pot because the pot's too small, so when I water it, it's going to splash off the leaf and come out. But on the larger pots, not a problem. So don't waste your leaves. Those things are valuable for other plants. It's a food source. Yes, it is. They provide food. Another one. Okay, that is the 4 o'clock. That one really needs no care at all. So if you want a no-care plant that's going to take care of itself and is going to be beautiful, this one I would definitely recommend. Let's move on to something else. I'm going to just leave you where you are if you're comfortable, and I'm going to bring you another one that has made a comeback. Yes, it has. It has, and I'm really happy to show you this. Look. Remember this one? Actually, I'm just going to, you know what? I'm going to put it down, and I'm going to tilt your head down. Don't worry, I'm not going to hurt you. Would I do that? There we go. Look familiar? Look close. This was a very, very small poinsettia that I got last Christmas. Yeah, remember I think I got it in Christmas. Yeah, last Christmas. It's a year old. It was in a little tiny pot. I think it was like $1 or something like that. It was one of those throwaways after Christmas. I got it on sale. It was red. Then I trimmed it all back. And remember, it kept growing red leaves, and I couldn't figure out why. Well, I pruned it back again, and you know what? That was also when I changed my water. From the alkaline, nasty mess that was coming out of my well, I've been using the distiller and giving it a more lower pH water. And it put out new leaves. It's very healthy, because I thought it was dying. Because when I pruned it back, it wasn't growing leaves very well. Now it's growing really nice. It's not something that I thought I was going to have. I thought I was going to have a larger plant, but you know what? Not everything works out the way that we want it. And as for the shaping of this plant, if you have a small plant that's just starting out, you may want to just give it some time. Okay, this is not a new plant, but it's new growth on the plant. And every now and then, and I'm going to bring it right up to you, every now and then I want to remove a leaf. This is something that is a common thing. Like if you take a leaf, a larger one, and move it aside, sometimes underneath it, I don't have it because I already did my pruning on this. Every now and then you're going to have, oh there we go, some new growth. See, there's some new growth right there, and it's being shaded by a leaf. What that will do is it will just a little bit stunt the growth. So what I would normally do, look at me doing this with one hand. This is something I don't normally do. I usually just set it down, but I'll just reach in there, snip off the leaf. Now when you do this, they will bleed out some sap. Don't worry, just don't get it on your hands. It's not a big deal. It's not going to kill you. And see, that brings a little bit more light into this one. Now I should probably take out this leaf as well. This is a little bit of maintenance that you can do, and it's selective, but it doesn't take rocket science to do it. There, we just brought this one out into the light. Now this is going to grow a little bit faster and start catching up with this one here. Otherwise, if it's left in the shade underneath like a second story, it's always going to be a little bit stunted until it comes out into the light. So in order to keep my plants well shaped, sometimes I have to do that, and it looks a little bit lopsided over here, but that's only temporary. All right, now I don't wipe up the sap, I just let it go. It's not a big deal. Leave the leaves in the soil, they're going to be good for it. The lower pH water seems to work for the poinsettia. And oh no, I'm not done. This is a full service program. I want to bring over something edible. Yep. Well, maybe not the plant, but the fruit. All right, here goes your head again. Your neck is a little stiff. All right, there we go. This one here, what does it say? Look familiar? All you outdoor gardeners? Sweet habanero. Yes, this is Ray's sweet habanero. The seeds that I have on the little shop of seeds, I harvested the peppers. I grew them. This is called a habanero. And it's a habanero that has all the flavor of habanero, the color, the shape, and I can't even begin to describe how profuse the harvest was. You've seen that if you tune into my Praxis 55712 channel of outdoor gardening. You've seen what one of these plants can do, and it is beyond explanation. Well, I took one of the seeds off of that plant. This is the child of that plant, and this is before I put the seeds up for sale. I wanted to make sure they were viable, so I just germinated one in a cup. It germinated really well. Actually, there was 4, and I pulled the other 3 out and tossed them because I didn't need 4 plants. Well, this one I allowed to grow because why not? And this is the shaping that I'm doing. Normally, a pepper plant will grow multiple stems. You've seen that if you've ever grown peppers. What I'm doing with this one is I've been pruning off everything on the lower stem, and then, oh no, I'm going to bring this right up to you. Yes, I am. All right, there we go. I let it get about maybe 8 inches tall. And then you have the forking of the stems at the top. So this gives it kind of like a tree look, doesn't it? Yeah, a tree pepper is what I'm going for here. It's going to have a stem that goes straight up. I was lucky to get a straight stem. You don't always get one of those. But if you do, one of the things I might recommend to you is giving it a shot. You can have big bushy plants. I'm going to show you one in just a second. But you can also have kind of like a pruned plant. Now this one I'm not going to keep pruned very small. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let it grow out, grow up, and keep this bottom stem right here. I'll decide later what I'm going to do with it, but for right now, yes it is. It is putting out flowers, and it's probably going to have fruit hanging here. So that's going to be a nice look. A tree stem, branches coming out, orange fruit hanging out here, and yes, you can grow these indoors during the winter and harvest the fruit. Now you may notice when I'm showing you these plants, I just thought of something. You're going to see little gnats flying all over the place. Yeah, indoor gardeners' biggest enemy, fungus gnats. Now fungus gnats are usually a problem if you have young seedlings that you're starting because they have very delicate roots and the roots are towards the surface. Well, most, if not all, of these plants have an extensive root system. So fungus gnats can only damage anything on the top surface, and these plants have strong, thick roots that go all the way to the bottom of the pot. Fungus gnats can't harm these at all. So I don't worry about the fungus gnats right now. I do address those issues if people have questions about fungus gnats, how to get rid of them. And I'll do that right now. If you do have fungus gnats and you want to get rid of them, every single plant in your house has to be treated at the exact same time. No ifs, no buts, no coconuts, all right? What you do, 1 part hydrogen peroxide, 3 parts water. Mix it up into a can and wait until your plants need to be watered. All of them have to be watered at the same time. What you're going to do is you're going to pour that into your pot and water it to a depth of no less than 2 to 3 inches, okay? Water it well from edge to edge, even if you don't think it needs it. See, this is a little dry here and this is moist. That's a bozo no-no. If you want to get rid of them, it's got to start here, work its way all the way out there. The peroxide will dissolve the soft body of the larva of the fungus gnat in the soil and kill it. And then, of course, you want to put the yellow sticky traps. It's just a sticky trap that's yellow because the adults are attracted to yellow. You put those hanging around the plants, it attracts the parents. It's a two-pronged approach. Okay, that I wasn't planning on including, but if you do have indoor problems with fungus gnats, that's the way to go. So don't worry about the fungus gnats in my grow room. I'm not worried about them, so you shouldn't worry about them. This is my largest pot. This is a 5-gallon pot. It holds almost 5 gallons worth of potting mix. It's a 16-inch pot. Not much to look at. It's just a plain old green pot that I got online. But I'm not looking at the pots. I'm looking at the plants. Sometimes when we grow a larger plant or an indoor tree, yes, some of us grow trees, a ficus tree. A fig tree, that's an actual tree that grows outdoors. Now, remember the China doll. Yeah, the China doll is a tree. A lot of these are actually giant plants that we grow on a smaller scale. This, of course, is no tree. But you know what? I'm going to try to make it similar to a tree. Yes, this is a tomato plant. This is the Praxis cherry tomato plant that I've grown outdoors. Those of you that have tuned into my outdoor gardening channel, this is the cherry tomato that started an empire. Yes, it is. This is the Prax cherry. I'm very proud of it. This is one of the seeds from my garden. I planted it in a small cup, and then when it got bigger, I put it in this 5-gallon pot. From a little tiny cup, see, I don't size up one pot, then one pot, then one pot. No, I don't go with that because it doesn't really make sense for all of my needs. Sometimes I do, most of the time I don't. I don't like repotting every other day. So what I did was I took that little tiny solo cup that I started it out in, put in some potting mix in the bottom, planted it down there, and then covered it up. And then as it grew, I added soil to cover up the stem. And then the stem put out more roots. More roots, better plants. So this is actually one plant that forked. And I encourage it to grow like this. And you know me, I grow tomatoes wide and bushy and let them go nuts. And I say, let the suckers grow. Well, this one, no. This one is for you gardeners who don't have a lot of real estate in your house to grow a big, fat, stinking, bushy plant. It's all well and good, but some of us need to grow narrow and grow up. So this is for you. This is going to be a lean, tall plant. What I did was, as it grew, I pruned it, took off the side shoots, and I also pinch off the suckers. See, little suckers that are coming out at the junctions here? Not today, not in Ray's garden. I let the leaves come out, but I make the stems grow straight up. The ones that are growing the straightest are the ones that I keep. See? All the way around. It's a beautiful color. Now, this one, with the tomato, you're going to, of course, want to let it dry out. Water it well from edge to edge. Now, don't just water it in the middle because tomatoes will send out roots far and wide. And it's the ones at the edges that you want to make sure you keep moist as well. Otherwise, they're going to die off. And the center part will cluster up and become like knotted up and root bound. That's not what you want. That's what you need even watering for, is to make sure the roots grow evenly. That's a big issue with indoor gardeners. They'll just give it a little bit of water and they don't really pay attention to the edges because they say, oh, the water will just go down the edges. Not if you use a good quality mix and use cocoa peat, which is coir. Mix that in with your potting soil. Coir does not get hard and crusty and make the water pool over the edge. You know how that happens sometimes? That will take care of that. So I mix in about a third of coir with the potting mix, and I put a little of my compost in there to feed it. That's all I do. Now back to the plant. What I'm doing is I'm taking them up, straight up. Now I'm going to loosen the camera here. Sounds like your neck snapping, doesn't it? Yep. Okay, don't worry, I won't hurt you. And then here we go. We're going to pan up nice and slow. And this is what the plant's going to be looking like. It's going to go straight up, and then as it goes, I'm going to be taking off these suckers. Don't worry, just pinch it off. You can cut them off with scissors or pinch them off with your fingers. It isn't going to hurt. Tomato plants are very, very resilient. This one's kind of trailing off to the left a little bit. But what it's going to do is, on the left, it's eventually going to go straight up. I don't want these growing right next to each other. I want them to kind of go out and then go up. That way they're not in each other's faces. Then later on, I'm going to take a piece of bamboo, slide it into here all the way to the bottom. Don't worry, it'll hit a couple roots. But tomatoes, they are very good at surviving a little bit of root damage. I'm going to put a bamboo pole down here, one down here, stake them to the bamboo pole and take it all the way up to the ceiling. And then once it hits up towards the ceiling, I'm going to let some suckers start growing out and then trailing down, trailing out. That's how I'm going to grow this plant, just because it's different. And also to help folks, like maybe you want to put a plant by the window, you want to have other plants too. Keep it narrow, keep it tall, and you know what? This thing keeps wanting to put out flowers. And I keep taking the flowers off because as tempting as it is to have little tiny tomatoes, we want to give it the strength to grow for right now. That's why I'm keeping the fruit off, because fruit will sap the strength from the plant. Nice, dark green leaves, healthy, sturdy. This is a very good choice if you want to grow a tomato indoors. Beefsteaks are beautiful for outdoors, but let's face it, they're not going to put out giant beefsteak tomatoes indoors, and also with the thinner stems of an indoor plant, it's harder for them to support a beefsteak. A cherry tomato is probably going to be your best choice if you're growing a tomato indoors, and the Praxis cherry does have a nice thick stem. It doesn't have those delicate stems like a lot of cherry tomatoes. This one is a trooper. Now I'm going to push Prax way back here. Now I'm going to show you something else. This is, yes, it is out of control, but it has a good foundation. I'm going to go into that. This is a ghost pepper, also known as bhoot Jolokia. I've grown one of these before in the Voodoo Garden ages ago when I lived in Minnesota. Yeah, I have programs on how to shape these to make them really big and tall and strong. And this was one of the plants that started my pruning programs, my series, to show you how to build strength in a plant. Now I'm going to remove the camera from the tripod, nice and easy. Don't worry, I won't hurt you. I'll try and keep it nice and easy. And we're going to start at the bottom and work our way up, because this one is a little bit different from what we were talking about. I did prune this one at the base, and you can see the base. Look at, they get really nice, strong stems. And I pruned it to have it fork out right there, and also to grow up and out. Remember I mentioned the bowl shape that I like to have my plants get? Well, this one started to get that, but then what happened is down at the base again, it kept wanting to put out new stuff. See, you can see I haven't taken any of that out. Look at this. Looks like somebody's been snorting cocaine on my plant. That's the mushroom effect. Yeah, the mushrooms that grow in here. Now I did prune up here all the way around. I pruned the branches so that it would strengthen up, because whenever you prune a branch, everything behind that gets thicker, and then it goes exponentially. The branch here got thicker, and then the one down below it, the main one, that one got thicker. So that's the benefit of pruning. You prune for strength, and it doesn't actually increase your production, but what it does is it makes your plant stronger, so that when you do get heavy production from a stronger plant, it can hold it without snapping or flailing all over the place. See this one right here? I pruned it, and it just flared out all over the place. And it just keeps doing that. Now up here, at the upper story, this is kind of like a rainforest, isn't it? You see, here's the upper story. Now these I could prune, and they will flare out as well and form even more. This one is something that I haven't really focused on. I decided when I was pruning it at first, and then I decided, you know what? Let's just let this one go free range. Let's let it go natural. Yeah, it is flowering. It's going a little bit nuts. They do tend to have smaller leaves. This one is going to go nuts and just grow at whatever it wants to do. And then later on, I guess we'll decide together what we want to do with this. I'll let you guys decide what I'm going to be doing with this. We'll talk it over, okay? But this is one that I wanted to show you because I don't normally, I don't think I've ever shown this. Yeah, somebody sent me ghost pepper seeds. And I thought, what the heck? I'll grow another ghost pepper. Oh, the smell of tomatoes. It's 16 degrees this morning, and yet I'm smelling tomatoes. I'm living the dream. Yes, I am. And you can too. Anybody can do this. Even if you don't have a really bright window, get yourself a little light and put it above one of these plants. You may not be able to grow everything, but then again, I don't expect you to grow everything that I'm growing here. That's why I have so many things here. You can pick and choose. Do you want a Dracaena, a Dumcane? Do you want a China doll, a ZZ plant? ZZ plants are great if you have a black thumb. You can't kill these things. I tried and I couldn't do it. Tomato, pepper, whatever it is, there's always something in here to catch your interest. Low light plants, highlight plants. Now, one last thing that I wanted to bring up is on last 2 weeks ago, the last program here in the Voodoo Garden, I was talking about the Queen of the Night, the night blooming cereus. Well, she had the most beautiful prehistoric looking buds. Remember seeing those? Well, right after I got done filming, that evening I had edited the video and I was ready to upload it. Well, she bloomed. And I couldn't add any more footage onto the program, so the best I could possibly do, and I'm really sorry about this, is I did snap a photo of her, and I put it as the final shot on the previous program. And for those of you who might have missed that, take a look at what the Night Blooming Cereus, Queen of the Night, looks like in all her glory. Yeah, she's a beauty. She is a stunning beauty. Now, there is a downside to this, okay? There was a downside to that. I thought, I don't know why, I think I should have listened closer to you, but I think people were telling me she only blooms for one night. She's a one-night stand and that's it. She's out of town. Well, she did. Just like that. I thought she would bloom the next day and maybe I can get some film with her. No, no, no. She's out of town. She's done. Elvis has left the building. She never came back. And her flower slowly wilted and turned to mush and is just a limp noodle right now. I'm waiting for it to fall off. But I do have hope. I added some fresh compost onto the top of her soil, watered it in, and what I'm going to do with Queen of the Night is I'm going to selectively prune some of her branches so that more strength, because she comes up with one stalk and then she branches and branches and branches. She goes nuts. And this really wasn't my doing. She decided to do all this on her own. I have never grown this before in my life. So I thought, well, you know what? I don't know what I'm doing. Maybe she knows what she's doing. Now that I'm a little bit more comfortable with the queen, I'm going to prune off some of the shoots she's putting out and allow the other ones to get stronger. And maybe I can coax her. I wouldn't say force. You don't force a queen. You coax her into maybe putting out flowers a little sooner than she would. So hopefully that'll work. I don't know. I will keep you updated on that. Okay, that is the update on the queen. I hope you enjoyed today's program. By the way, if you have, and this ugly looking flat coconut. Remember I forgot about this. Last winter, I had that vine growing all over the ceiling. Yeah, that one was air potato. Somebody sent me a little air potato and I planted it. It grew, it vined, and then it died. Well, when I dug it up, I found this huge bulb, this big ugly bulb. I showed you that, and it had a couple other bulbs. I set it into the basement for the whole summer, and it just sat there in storage. And then what I did was, a week ago, I brought it out, took off one of the bulbs because it was a cluster of them. Took one bulb out, put it in soil, and I'm going to see if it germinates. I mean, comes back to life. If it does, then I know that this is in good condition because it hasn't gotten mushy. It's still nice and hard. And if it does come back to life, that means I know that one's viable. I just want to bring this to your attention. And on my outdoor gardening channel, what I'll do is I'm going to germinate this, get this thing going indoors towards the end of winter, and then plant it in the garden. Yeah, I'm going to take this outside and see what it'll do out in the full sunlight. See if I can get like air potatoes all over the place. Maybe it'll just grab me and strangle me. I don't know. That's something for a future program, but I want to let you know what's going on in case it happens. If it happens, I will definitely invite you back and we can watch that together. Okay, I think that's pretty much everything. I got to get these beauties back underneath the light. They don't like being on the floor for very long. So if you have any questions, let me know in the comment section below. I'm always here to help you with anything that you possibly need on your indoor gardening. Until next time, this is Ray and his little greenies. We're out of here.